Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and I hope you guys are doing great. So today in my discuss I'm going to discuss with you about a company called Oriana Power Limited. We're going to go through their H2 result and the full year summary and talk about the most important point. Obviously this company came into my radar because one of the viewers commented and they said, sir, why don't you discuss this Oriana Power Limited? Generally I don't go into the power sector because I'm not involved in that much, but I was like, okay, let me go ahead and check it and understand what do they do and learn something new. Even though I have not invested in it, I'm not much aware, but obviously there is always something new to learn and you don't know how the future might hold, right? So I just studied about this, so we're going to discuss about this company. So before we get into the results and talk about the whole con call, the main important points, right? I'll just tell you what does the company does, right? So the company is into power and not into the the basic old power, but into solar power. So over here, what do they do, right? They have the two business model. First is EPC, where they construct these solar power plants on behalf of the clients who want to get their power plant constructed. And good thing about their business is, right, over here if the project costs X amount, the customer pays them the whole cost upfront. And that is the reason why they are able to maintain such good margins in their business, because if you look at their PAT margin overall for this year, it's around close to 13.91%, which is actually quite great if you personally ask me, right? So that is one of the things. And the other thing, in this only, they give the option for those customers whether they want Oriana to maintain and operate this power plant or not. And if you look at the second part of the business model, right, it's into solar energy solutions where they build, own, operate, and transfer. And generally over here, right, they provide power to customer under a long-term plan or long-term plan of around 15 to 25 years. So obviously, so even there when they're doing this, the how to say, the visibility of the revenue is quite is there for quite a long time. And obviously they are getting into another part of how to say green energy solution, which I'm going to talk later, and what are they expanding into. So if you look at their results, actually it's quite good. If you look at the half yearly result, right, H2 part of it, the YOY revenue increased by almost 64% to 1032 crores. The PAT was up by only around 18% to 130 crores. And if you look at the FY26 for the whole year, the revenue increased by almost 84% to 1800 crores, and PAT was about almost around 59% to 52 crores. So over here, if you actually see, right, uh, the reason they did not get operating leverage is because of the increase in the input cost and everything related to their business. And that was one of the main reason. I mean, if you actually hear to the con call, right, I was hearing to the con call for the first time, be very honest. I can So they were trying to explain the overall reason why things have you know c- uh, come forward as they are because of all the geopolitical situation, how it had an impact. For me, I think they could have done it in a very short way, but for me, it looked like that I was sitting in a, economics class and going through the whole thing. So yeah, but I can understand because of which, because if you look in terms of their revenue growth, that was quite good, great, right, for the half year as well as for the whole year. Only in terms of the, even though the margin stood good at 13.9%, it could have been still better if they would have got the operating leverage. So, and the other thing with the management, reiterated over here is like they have a massive pipeline in order book. If you look at it, right, so they have currently around 2.5 gigawatts of solar in pipeline, out of which around 1,500 megawatt is already under execution, and they have a total order book of around 7,000 crores, which is quite great. If you look at the current revenue for the whole year is around 1,800, and they have already have a 7,000 crore order book in pipeline, and they have around 4,800 acres of a land bank, which will be quite beneficial whenever they need it for their business or they want to sell it off and generate some money. And the other thing that what happened right over here, one question was asked. They anticipated that the question was asked, like the why didn't the company did not how to say participate in a lot of tenders and everything, why the number of tenders was quite low. So the management tried to give a quite a reasonable answer, and I think I was quite satisfied with it, because what they said, they are very conservative in their bidding strategy, right? The reason that they gave is right that one of the main reason that they did not bid for it is because of the recent battery and commodity prices becoming too volatile, and the way the competitors are underbidding by the prices. They believe that it is not sustainable, and Oriana the management prefers to protect their margin over the chasing growth. So they are like, it is okay if I don't get those tenders, but at the same time, I don't want to compromise, on my overall margin, because for me, the business is not sustainable. So they are very sure they are not looking from the short-term revenue growth, but they're looking from the long-term perspective where they're able to grow their revenue, but at the same time, maintain their uh, margins also. So I think that was quite, I would say, reasonable answer, and I personally agree with it because, and if you look at the other thing what the management said, right, that they were earlier traditional in solar EPC subject, but they're trying to integrate themselves into clean energy platform, right? So from making the EPC, they're getting to generation of solar, then they're getting into storage, which is battery energy storage system for the the electricity which is generated through solar. Then they're getting into consumption, which is green hydrogen, green ammonia, green fuels, and all those things. And the other two main segment which they spoke about, right, very highly about, is first is the storage, which is again, which I talk about, which is best, and for them they see it as a major growth engine. So currently they have 1.5 gigawatts of best business. So they are trying to scale these projects in order to store the battery power. And even after that, there is still around three more gigawatts of BESS in pipeline. In terms of in ammonia and hydrogen expansion, if we see, they currently have a 10-year ammonia, green ammonia agreement, and the overall value of the project is around 3,000 crores, and they will and the supply that they will have to do as a target of around 60,000 kiloton per annum for ammonia. And then they're saying that there are additional opportunities for hydrogen and green fuel opportunities over there. So these are the main two areas which they look into. And if you look at their near term growth, right, between the next 3 years, again they spoke about the best, which is best energy short term, because the reason is that first is the government is increasing their support, and other thing which they said is like solar generation is growing faster than the grid capacity, right? So even though the solar is generating more than enough power, the grid is not able to maintain them. So this battery energy storage system now will help them to contain the electricity, which can be used later. And obviously, it currently solves the storage problem, which is till the time the grid comes into capacity. In terms of green ammonia, I've already spoke about. They have a 3,000 worth kind of project, and it's a long-term project, and it's already started underway. And the third thing that they've done is they internationally they're expanding. They have entered into Latin America, and they've started a airport solar project in country Guyana. And if you look in terms of the guidance, right, and what is the vision of the company, right? So they have a vision which they call them Target 2030, right? I don't know whether you guys might have gone through various companies or no, but what I've seen, majority of the companies have, I don't know whether it's a trend or one someone started on everyone started following. They all have a target for 2030, right? So what is their plan for 2030? By 2030, what they want to do? So over here, Oriana also has a plan for 2030. So I just tell you slowly and briefly what are their plan, right? So they want to have total of 6 gigawatt of solar EPC, 2.4 gigawatt of solar IPPV, then 20 gigawatts of battery energy storage system, and 1 million ton of hydrogen. So this is their plan, right? And to achieve that, right, the management is saying that they, with the current situation and the volatility which is happening, they believe that they can grow at a CAGR of between 40 to 50% till 2030. And if these things go away and if everything comes back to normal, then they'll be able to grow at a 70% CAGR. So I just did some calculation, with the help of the computer and everything. So if they grow at a 40 to 50% CAGR from the current year-end revenue of 1,800, they can reach a revenue of between anywhere between 7,000 to 9,000 crores. And if they're able to achieve a CAGR of 70%, they can easily grow their revenue to 15,000 crores. I mean, if they are able to do that, right, especially the 70% CAGR, it's going to be crazy, because they're going to grow almost close to 10 times. And if they are able to grow their, between around 40 to 50%, they'll easily be able to grow by around 5 to 6 times. So their growth target is quite aggressive, but they are quite confident. And the way, and especially along with the revenue target, I think they'll be able to generate, if they're able to, achieve this target, they will have good profit margin, because as I told about how they said, right, they want to bid for projects where they know that they can maintain their margin rather than just chasing revenue. So overall, even though I don't invest in solar companies and speak much about it, with the way I look at this company, they are very confident of what they are doing. They know what is their future plan, and they are trying to focus towards that, along with maintaining their margin. If everything goes well, if they're able to achieve that, I mean, I'm definitely sure it's going to be good for the management, as well as as well as it's going to be good for the shareholders also. So let's see how does it happen. So when the next H1 result come, I'll hopefully try to keep an eye on this company, and keep you guys posted. And if you guys like this analysis, please do hit like and subscribe to my channel, and please share it with your friends. That's really helpful for me. Thank you and God bless.